Hi, this is Dr. Nicki, and I'm here today to talk to you about the critical areas in third grade. There are 4 critical areas. The first one is in operations and algebraic thinking. And when you're thinking about operations and algebraic thinking, you're thinking about multiplication and division. That's it. I mean, there's some other standards, but you're really trying to get your students to understand multiplication and division. Then you're going to go on and you're going to teach the next critical area is fractions, something you should teach all year long. Do not wait until you get to the fraction unit to teach it. Start introducing it in your daily routines. Just, talking about it, not putting a lot of emphasis, not stopping to do a unit of study every day, but certainly having fractions arise in their everyday environment. And so you want to talk about fractions in context. You want to talk about fractions as a number that sits on the number line, and you want to talk about them all year long. Third graders are supposed to walk away really understanding this concept of a whole, and they're supposed to really understand unit fractions. So that's the second critical area. The third critical area is measurement, and students really have to understand rectangular arrays and area. There's a lot of work on area, probably more work than I've ever seen on area in third grade. So you really want to make sure that students understand that and that you teach it in a way that makes sense. The fourth critical area, as always, is geometry. Geometry is always a critical area in all of the grades. I keep saying it's so important. Teach geometry all year long. Children really have to understand 2D shapes. Everything that they can about 2D shapes. That's an emphasis in a critical area in the third grade. And in this video, we're going to look at how you teach all of those critical areas. I'm going to be talking about multiplication and division, and as you'll notice, I have lots of things out, because one of the most important things to think about when you're teaching multiplication and division is how do kids imagine it? How do they see it? What manipulatives do they have to show it and make it real? And so we're going to start with how I start when I'm teaching kids. I usually have a double dice, because the double dice are nice. They have the inside-outside dice. You could also just have 2 different colors, a red and a green, or blue and a pink, or whatever color dice you have. And then and those can be the factors. But if you have double dice, they're just, they're more fun. So this, I threw a 3 and a 6. And the first activity you want to do with kids, it's called nest and eggs. And so you'd have them draw their nests. The nests are the outside number. It's a 3. And the inside number is a 6. So there's 6 eggs inside each nest. Well, now there's too many. So there's 6. So we have 6 plus 6 plus 6. We have 3 groups of 6. And you want kids to really do this kind of work to start with, because you want them to see it, right? And so here then I would have them write the addition sentence, 6 plus 6 plus 6. And I would have them write the verbal statement, 3 groups of 6. And then I would have them write the multiplication statement, 3 times 6. And then we can see, so they have the addition statement, they have the verbal statement, and they have the multiplication statement. And that is called nests and eggs. Now, the next thing that they will do is a game that's very similar. Again, I'd use a double dice. So I use a double dice, and I have 6 times 4. So I have 6 groups. This is called circles and stars. Same concept. You have 6 groups. That's your outside number of 4. That's your inside number. Your stars go on the inside, circles and stars. If you look up circles and stars on the internet, there are a million things, a million templates that you can get to do circles and stars. Again, you have the children write, this is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then you might have them write that out, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. The verbal statement is 6 groups of 4, and then you would have them write the multiplication statement, 6 times 4. equals, right? So you want to do nests and eggs and circles and stars to start with. And then after you do that, one of the things that I teach kids, this is like intersection multiplication. Kids really love this way of doing it. You roll the dice and you get a number. And so I got 6 times 1. And actually, 6 times 1 is a good one to do with the kids, because you want kids to know that anytime you multiply a number by 1, that you get that number, right? So you have 6 groups of 1. Okay. Now, or you could have 1 times 6, right? You could have one group of 6. And so people say, oh, it's a turnaround fact, but that's very different. You want kids to understand the difference in those turnaround groups. That 6 times 1, 6 groups, you have 6 boats, you have 1 person in it, or you have 1 times 6, you have 1 boat, you have 6 people in it. That's a very different scenario, and your kids should understand that. So when you're teaching them commutative property, you want to make sure that you show them that. But in terms of intersections, we have 1 times 5, so we draw 1, and then we draw 5 on there. Or say I threw a 2 times 2, I'd go 1, 2 times 2, and you circle the intersections, and that tells you what the total is. Or say I had 2 times 5, I have 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the kids circle all the intersections, right? I don't know if you can see that. I want to make sure that you see what I'm doing. I'm circling the intersections so they can see that 2 times 5 is 2 groups of 5. And this really sets kids up for what comes next, is because you're going to start working with arrays. And then you also want to do number lines when you're introducing multiplication. This is much more abstract though, remember. So say you have 2 times 2, you have 1, 2. You want kids to be able to see what that is on the number line. So I would do number lines and number grids where you're doing skip counting on the number grids leading into multiplication. So you want to do it on the number line, you want to do sticks, you want to do circles and stars and nests and eggs. And then finally, you want to have kids do the area model. And so you can do this with mosaics, and then you can also do it on grid paper. And I would do it with mosaics first, and then I would do it on grid paper. I'm not finding the mosaic. Oh, here they are. So you would have mosaics, and you'd have the kids lay the mosaics out so they could see exactly. Say you have 2, right, times 2, and you would draw that out. So you're beginning to look at the area model of this, 2 times 2, and the kids can see that that is 4. Right, you have your factors on the sides, right? And then on the inside, in the area, you see how much area that takes up. 2 times 2 is 4, right? So you want kids to begin to see that. That really comes into play when you're doing single digit by double digit, but you can begin to lay the foundation with mosaics and then with grid paper. And because what you have them do is then you have them color in the grid, right? And that they can show you that that's a 2 by 2, right? On my blog, I have a whole bunch of pictures of making like a big array model, and so I would really suggest that you go on there, and if you Google multiplication or you do a search for multiplication, a lot of that stuff will come up. I also like a lot of the stuff that comes up off of Pinterest, so I would look under multiplication on Pinterest, and you'll find tons of excellent ideas. And then the next thing I do is I have kids, you just give them lots of opportunities to practice. So like I'll give them dominoes, and I'll say, okay, take that domino and multiply those 2 numbers by each other, 6 times 3. It's just really number generators. That's what the dominoes serve the purpose as number generators. And you also have your kids that make arrays. So I might say, I want you to make a group of 3 cookies with this is 5 in each row, right? So there was a platter on it, and it had 3 rows with 5 in each row, 15. So you want kids to really start looking at it from an array point. So they go from looking at, there were 3 plates, and on each plate there was 5 cookies, right? That's an equal group model. 2, there was a platter, and on that platter, there was 3 rows and 5 in each row, which would be an array model. So make sure you're spending time on equal group as well as array. You start with equal groups and then you move into arrays. And then I do a bunch of stuff. I love these people. These are Lakeshore people, and I like the people because the kids can act it out and then you can take it to the pictorial. Like this is like bodily kinesthetic using the manipulatives, and then you can have so first you would tell stories where you have the kids act out the stories, then you'd tell stories you have the kids use these models, and then you have tell stories you have the kids draw it out, and so it just really allows you to go through the nice cycle of concrete, pictorial, abstract. So you say, oh, there were some kids lined up on the playground, and there were 3 rows, and there were 3 kids in each row. How many kids were there? There's 12 kids. So I use the little people from Lakeshore to really help with that as well. So that's the first part. The first critical area of 3rd grade is multiplication and division. And just now we have studied multiplication.